This summer, I had a good opportunity to discuss a topic of happiness and education with a group of excellent school principals from China. The idea was actually to identify from different groups in different regions what matters in our life, what matters in our education, and what is the relationship between these two. I still remember one school principal told me something like this, which I couldn't forget for my life. He said, we have to find ways to help our students improve academic performance, even though we know that such tough academic training system will bring tremendous hardship and stress to our students, parents, and schools. But we have no choice, because academic output and performance so far is one of the most objective measures to improve and promote our students. That's why we have to be very tough. This might sound very extreme to my academic and education fellows from this part of the world, but the study have already shown that in the high-income countries, education has not sufficiently improved students' basic academic skills, even though we have a lot of resources available. Back in the day, we know that education is meant to bring knowledge and skills. Today, education has become a symbol of our social and economic status, and is one of the most important entry tickets to the job market. But the reality is, we have so many people educated in the same way, but we don't have enough jobs. Especially, we don't have highly paid jobs for those highly educated kids. In the end, there are more and more people becoming aggressive, impatient, and unhappy, which creates a lot of social, economic, and environmental strains. So, what are the problems, and what are the sources of these problems? One argument we often heard was inequality. Usually we measure inequality and equality from economics perspective. And we humans know that we are very much value of those things measured by economic returns rather than value those things beyond economics. I give you an example. We've been talking about gender equality and equality for a long time and claim that women should have equal access to the job market and should have equal pay to men. But we lack the capability to measure those values that only women can do. For example, giving birth and breastfeeding babies, and most of the time, housework, family administration, and family education. If we calculated the economic returns of those work that women have been doing by considering the fact that women be taking care of the next generation for the future society, women should be paid objectively much higher than those men who work as bankers, lawyers, and doctors. Yes? I give you an example. In China, actually wife paid by husband for their homework or for their housework, and sometimes it's up to 8,000 per month. So I remember when I was a kid, and in my generation, we were educated in the childhood to love, to share, and to trust. But throughout the education, what we learned? We learned to compete, to fight, and to defend. We've been changing our environment from an ecosystem to an ecosystem, even though that we claim that we need an ecosystem. And we through years of education to learn about the outer world, well, physics, chemistry, biology, geography, economics, and so on. We developed institutions to replace the people to people's trust. We developed management and skills to rule over others and resources. What we learned looks objective, but actually all pointed to others rather than oneself. In the end, we learned so much about others, especially about others' problems, particularly about other countries' problems. But we find it so difficult to look at ourselves and deal with our own problems. So, what's wrong with this picture, and how to deal with that? In order to figure out the problem, I argue that all the problems coming from education, and the solution can only come from education. To figure out how early our kids has already started to develop the idea about the purpose of education, I conduct a series of interviews with kids from 6 years old who just entered into the elementary school to 11 years old who are about to transition to the secondary school. It is very interesting to see that the kids' mindset actually switch around 11 years old. And by that time, the kids already developed a very clear and direct link from their current education to their future education, and then to the degree, diploma of their higher education, and then to the job and money. I remember one 11-year-old boy told me this in a very serious way. He said, if you don't have a university degree, you know what? You will get a huge problem, because you won't find any job, meaning that you will become homeless. Wow, seriously? Where does this idea come from? So the kids actually told me that, okay, the better quality of the education comes from the better ranked education. And the better ranked education, meaning that you will have a better degree, and the better degree means that you will have a better job, and the better job means that you will have more money. And with money, you will become very happy because money can bring you a lot of happiness. Wow, okay, I was shocked. So I continued to ask the kids. I said, okay, so can you please tell me that, let's suppose something, that you don't need to worry about money in the future, and you don't need to find job for future, and you have all the money in the world to spend. What do you do then? The kid said, 11 years old kid, said that I will stop going to school, and I will study at home with my parents. Some other kids said, I will start project with my friends. And some other kids said, I will create jobs rather than find jobs for people. I said, okay, so what do you do to make yourself happy in the future when you grow up? They said, I will find a partner I love and who loves me to make myself happy. I will give something back to my parents to make my parents happy. I will call my friends to meet frequently and discuss ideas. You see the logic of kids? There are actually two tracks of reasoning in kids' head. One track was taught by us to be competitive, to count economic returns, to be individualism, to be competitive. That is all about inequality. And the other track is the kids' heart-based reasoning, to love, to share, to collaborative, to equal-oriented. That is all about equality. In the transition from inequality to equality, I argue that education plays the most important role. Education doesn't only mean the formal school education, but also means that a larger context of education from family and society. In order to offer an equal, comprehensive, and qualified education, which includes the knowledge and wisdom towards outer world and inner world, we have to be very conscious that education is meant to help people identify and develop their uniqueness by respecting diversification and inclusiveness. And that is a core of equality. Knowledge and skills towards the outer world are very, very important. But knowledge and wisdom towards the inner world counts the quality of our life, our happiness, and the purpose of our education. Thank you.